Imagine a seemingly innocent board game that promises to connect you with the spirit world. But beneath the surface lies a history shrouded in mystery and controversy. Join me today as we journey into the mysterious world of Ouija boards, exploring their origins, cultural significance, and the eerie tales that surround them. Hey dudes, welcome to the Weird and Wicked podcast, where we'll deep dive into the most bizarre and spine-chilling tales from around the world. I'm Rachel, your guide on this eerie adventure. I have an obsession for the mysterious and the unknown. Get ready to explore the most bizarre, unnerving, and unbelievable stories. From true crime and conspiracy theories to ghosts and cryptids, I'll be covering it all. Today we unravel the mysteries of the Ouija board, a tale that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Stay tuned because the truth is often stranger and more wicked than fiction. Warning, this episode delves into the history and cultural significance of Ouija boards, which may be unsettling for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Before we get started today, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your guys' support on my last few videos. I just wanted to say thank you for views, likes, subscribes, anything. If you're here to just chill and not subscribe, that's totally fine. But I appreciate all the love and support. Bear with me because it's 8 a.m. this morning. I've got a little allergy situation going on, but I've got my coffee, so let's dive into the story. Cheers! For over a century, the mysterious boards have fascinated and frightened people, raising age-old questions about the afterlife, spirits, and the unknown. Some see them as just harmless fun, a spooky party game, while others believe they are a doorway into the other side, a means of communicating with spirits or something far more sinister. But where did these iconic boards actually come from? How did they become a staple of the paranormal world, and why are they surrounded by so much intrigue and fear? In today's episode, we'll explore the history, myths, and even some of the more controversial moments surrounding Ouija boards. From their humble beginnings as a parlor game to their place in popular culture and horror, we'll uncover the mysteries behind the iconic tool of the supernatural. So grab your candles, dim the lights, and let's dive into the chilling history of the Ouija board, if you dare. So before we dive into the history of the Ouija board, it's important to understand that the human desire to communicate with the spirit world is far from a modern phenomenon. Across ancient civilizations, spirit communication and the connection with forces beyond the physical world have always been integral aspects of spirituality and culture. If you think about it that way, it's not really a long shot, you know? Throughout history, many ancient cultures believed that the natural world was infused with spiritual energy. They saw everything from the sun and moon to rivers and mountains as connected to the divine. And with these beliefs came rituals and practices designed to communicate with unseen forces, be they gods, ancestors, or spirits of the land. For instance, in ancient Egypt, priests and priestesses would conduct rituals in sacred temples to connect with gods and the spirits of the deceased. The Egyptians believed that death was simply a transition to another form of existence, and their elaborate burial practices include tombs like the Great Pyramids, reflected their desire to ensure a smooth journey to the afterlife. Through incantations and sacred rituals, they would call upon these spirits for guidance and protection. Similarly, in ancient Greece, oracles played a significant role in communicating with the gods. The Oracle of Delphi, who spoke for the god Apollo, was consulted by kings and commoners alike to receive divine guidance. The priestess would enter a trance-like state, believed to be induced by vapors from the earth, and offer cryptic messages said to be from the gods. This practice of using intermediaries to connect to the spiritual realm shows how deeply ingrained the idea of communicating with the divine was in their culture. We also see practices of spirit communication in ancient China, where divination techniques like oracle bones were used as far back as 1600 BCE. Chinese shamans or diviners would inscribe questions onto animal bones or tortoise shells, then apply heat to create cracks, which were interpreted as answers from the gods or ancestors. These techniques were an early form of trying to bridge the gap between the physical and spiritual worlds. Communication with another world or a spiritual world has been happening pretty much for eons. Even among the Native American cultures, many tribes believed in the close connection between the living and the spirits. Shamans, healers, and medicine men were seen as the intermediaries who could communicate with the spirit world to heal the sick, seek guidance, or ensure the success of a hunt. What's fascinating about the ancient practices is that they weren't just seen as mystical or otherworldly, they were seen as an essential part of life, woven into everything from government decisions to daily rituals. And while the methods differed across cultures, the universal desire to connect with spirits, ancestors, or gods is something that continues to captivate people to this day. It's really interesting. People kind of create this separation between talking to spirits or talking to ghosts and, say, for instance, praying to God. People use a rosary to say prayers and whatnot and to talk to their God. To me, it doesn't seem much different than using, say, a Ouija board to try and communicate to a spirit in that sense. It's just more mainstream and more widely accepted to pray to God, go to church, use a rosary, and, trying to communicate with the spirit world does, I feel like, reach a point where it's a little bit too much. But, in the most simple sense, I don't feel like they're that much different. But I don't know. Everyone has their own opinions. So if you have a strong opinion either way, let me know down in the comments. In February 1891, a groundbreaking product began appearing in newspaper ads across the country: Ouija, the wonderful talking board. It was marketed as a mystical tool that could answer questions about the past, present, and future with marvelous accuracy. Priced at $1.50, the Ouija board promised endless amusement and mystery for all. Crucially, it was patented, adding a sense of legitimacy for intrigued consumers. The original design of the Ouija board was remarkably similar to the one still used today. It featured the alphabet arranged in two semicircles, numbers 0 through 9, and the word yes, no, and goodbye. Along with the heart-shaped planchette, originally made out of wood but now often plastic, the board was believed to allow participants to communicate with the spirit world by gliding over letters to spell out answers to their questions. While the materials used in creating the board and planchette have changed over time, the essence of the experience remains intact. The Ouija board has continuously captured the imaginations of users, offering a blend of entertainment, curiosity, and supernatural intrigue. Its reputation evolved alongside spiritualism, becoming a symbol of both innocent amusement and deep superstition. The mysterious origins of the Ouija board have long captivated researchers. While the board became a fixture in American pop culture, its true history was largely unexplored until Ouija historian Robert Murch began his research in 1992. That's quite a bit later than, what year was that? 1891. That's crazy. Surprisingly, little had been documented about its origins, despite its iconic status. The Ouija board, like we said, was born in the late 19th century during the height of spiritualism, a movement that claimed communication with the dead was possible. Seances were commonplace, and people eagerly sought ways to reach the spirit world. Though widely associated with spiritualism, the Ouija board was initially designed as a commercial product rather than a mystical tool. It was developed by Charles Kennard, Elijah Bond, and William Fudd. And I hope I'm saying their names right. Kennard, I think that's right, hopefully, and soon became known as the talking board. The design allowed users to ask questions and receive answers, supposedly from the spirits, through the movement of the planchette. The name Ouija has its own mysterious origin too. During a session with the medium Helen Peters, the board spelled out Ouija and responded, "Good luck," when asked what the name meant. Some suggest the name combines oi and ja, the French and German words for yes, though Peters' locket featuring the name Ouija might also have inspired the name. So it's weird. It's kind of even unknown where the name is from, too. We've got a few theories, but no one actually really knows. As spiritualism surged, particularly during times of national grief like World War I, the Ouija board became a household fixture. Families used it in hopes of communicating with loved ones lost to war, but its popularity also led to controversy. The board began provoking fear, with many wondering whether it was simply a parlor game or something more sinister, a tool that could open portals to dark forces. This is mainly what it's thought of today, I feel like. This perception deepened with the release of the iconic horror film The Exorcist in 1973, which portrayed the Ouija board as a gateway to evil. Once a symbol of innocent curiosity, it had by then become a conduit for fear, a reputation that still lingers today. Yeah, call me crazy. I love spiritualism and just all these ways to communicate with the spiritual world. And I think it's just fun, I don't see any harm in it, especially if you're doing it in a safe way. But I have a lot of friends and even my fiance too, who will not touch a Ouija board. Like they straight up will not. He doesn't even want one in our house at all. And I don't know, I feel like it's this perception that was made with, films like The Exorcist and other stories that went around. But I don't know. I don't know if I believe if it really is, a gateway to hell or can open portals for demons to come through. But I feel like it's all just this idea that became known, and everyone just believes that now. But you never really know, do you? The claim that the Ouija board had been proven at the patent office was not entirely unfounded. In 1891, inventor Elijah Bond and his sister-in-law, Helen Peters, who was that medium we talked about, demonstrated the board's accuracy by correctly spelling out the name of the patent office official. This led to the official granting of the patent on February 10th, 1891, marking the board's commercialization. Kennard and Bond, along with the Kennard Novelty Company, were not particularly spiritual, but they saw the rising interest in spiritualism as a business opportunity. Of course, right? Prior to their mass market version, similar talking boards had appeared in spiritualist camps as early as 1886, but the Kennard Novelty Company was the first to mass produce it for public consumption. The commercialization of the Ouija board was a resounding success. By 1892, the Kennard Novelty Company had expanded to several major cities, including Baltimore, New York, Chicago, and London. However, internal power struggles led to the ousting of Kennard and Bond. William Fuld, an early employee, eventually took over the company and drove it to even greater heights. Fuld became closely associated with the board that he was often credited as the creator, even in his obituary. That's so crazy because he actually wasn't. But look at him, he gets to take the credit for it. It's kind of funny to see this side of it, it's like this ominous board game that can summon demons and stuff, but in all reality, it's a piece of cardboard that these three guys were fighting over its success. Kind of funny. Fuld's connection to the board took a tragic turn when he died in 1927 after falling from the roof of a factory he had claimed the Ouija board instructed him to build. Before his death, Fuld had acquired the executive rights to the board, solidifying his place in its legacy. Today, the Ouija board continues to be one of the most famous and mysterious parlor games in history, standing at the intersection of fun, fear, and fascination. Hey guys, it's me, here with a quick and exciting update. If you're enjoying the deep dives into the mysteries and stories I cover, you're going to love what I have in store for you in our monthly newsletter. Every month, I send out an exclusive true crime newsletter packed with behind-the-scenes content, upcoming episode previews, and additional insights into the cases we discuss. But that's not all. Newsletter subscribers also get access to my curated list of true crime current events. It's the best way to stay connected and engaged with the podcast. So what are you waiting for? Head over to the website and sign up for the monthly true crime newsletter today. Don't miss out on all the extra content and perks I've created just for you. Thanks for listening and supporting our show. Now let's get back to the story. So back to the spiritualism movement, it just fascinates me. So I wanted to dive deeper into this. So the belief system rooted in the idea that the dead could communicate with the living. Though spiritualism had been present in Europe for years, it surged in America in 1848 following the rise of the Fox Sisters of New York. These sisters claimed to communicate with spirits through mysterious rapping noises, a sensation that spread rapidly through the national press. I just love how it's mainstream back then. This today, I don't think it would get all this attention, It's really funny to see. At the core of spiritualism was the desire to connect with loved ones who had passed, particularly in an era where the average lifespan was under 50 and death was often sudden due to war, childbirth, and disease. Seances, table-turning parties, and automatic writing became commonplace. Even prominent figures like Mary Todd Lincoln held seances in the White House after her death of her son during the Civil War. I love the idea of Mary Todd Lincoln holding a seance in the White House. Freaking iconic, right? Spiritualism resonated with many Americans because it was compatible with Christian beliefs. One could participate in a seance on Saturday and attend church the following day without cognitive dissonance. It provided solace, comfort, and an acceptable way to deal with grief. By the time Ouija board was introduced in 1891, the spiritualist movement was already deeply ingrained in American culture. The board was quickly adopted as a convenient, simple tool for communicating with the dead without the need for a medium. Unlike table turning or other forms of spirit communication, the Ouija board could be used at home by anyone. Its accessibility, coupled with widespread belief in spiritualism, made it a sensation that easily crossed from a novelty item to a cultural phenomenon. Historian Robert Murch notes that communicating with the dead wasn't considered strange at the time. Quote, "It wasn't seen as bizarre or weird," Murch explains. "But now people think of it as opening the gates of hell." End quote. This drastic shift in perception highlights the significant role spiritualism played in normalizing tools like the Ouija board during its early years. The Civil War greatly expanded spiritualism's reach. With families across America losing loved ones to war, the desire to contact the dead surged. People yearned for closure, hoping that their loved ones who had gone to battle and never returned could somehow communicate through the veil of death. Seances became widespread, and the concept of the Ouija board fit perfectly into this longing for connection, offering people a chance to find solace in speaking with the spirits of their deceased family members. Thus, the Ouija board was introduced into a cultural environment primed for such a product, both spiritually and commercially. Its connection to the spiritualist movement enabled it to gain acceptance quickly, solidifying its place in American spiritual and popular culture. The Ouija board's immediate success, sustained for over 120 years, reveals its unique place in American culture. Marketed as both a mystical oracle and family entertainment, the board drew a wide variety of users, from skeptics to believers, across different age groups and backgrounds. Spiritualists resented its popularity, as it effectively eliminated the need for a medium. Its allure stemmed from the simple human desire to believe in something greater. Robert Murch explains, quote, The need to believe that something else is out there is powerful. The Ouija board allowed people to express that belief in an entertaining way. End quote. Those uncertain periods, such as World War I, the Roaring Twenties, and the Great Depression, when people sought answers amidst turmoil. Even during World War II, the board saw sales spike, with a New York store selling 50,000 boards over 5 months in 1944. Its appeal continued well into the 20th century, outselling even Monopoly in 1967 during the Vietnam War and the Summer of Love. That same year, Parker Brothers, who had purchased the game, moved its production to Salem, Massachusetts, famous for the 1692 witch trials, adding another layer of mystique. Despite its mainstream appeal, the Ouija board quickly became a subject of religious and moral controversy. By the mid 20th century, religious groups began associating it with the occult, denouncing it as a tool of Satan. Popular media reinforced this perception, with the Ouija board appearing in horror films, often as a gateway to demonic possession. Religious figures such as Pat Robertson declared the board a link to evil forces, and in 2001, the board was burned in a New Mexico bonfire alongside Harry Potter books. The fact that they burned it with Harry Potter books just explains that whole situation, I feel like. The ethical debate surrounding the Ouija board also extends into concerns over mental health. Historically, there has been a link between occult practices and psychological distress. While most mental health issues are not caused by demonic forces, the potential for confusion between mental illness and supernatural influence persists. Noted debunkers like Harry Houdini warned of the dangers of spiritualism in his writings, connecting the practice to mental instability. This fear has been compounded by cases where people reportedly experienced terrifying supernatural events or became fixated on harmful beliefs after using the board, suggesting that psychological and even spiritual harm could arise from the practice. Thus, while the Ouija board remains a cultural icon, its legacy is steeped in a mixture of fascination, fear, and controversy. This is also so fascinating to me. I feel like there's a slight stigma these days with people who are spiritualists, who maybe want to use tarot cards, maybe use pendulum, stuff like that. So I think it's interesting to bring up the whole mental health side of it. There's so many layers to that, I feel like, but I thought it was just interesting to point out. And of course, we cannot talk about the Ouija board without talking about famous cases and hauntings from it. The Ouija board has been linked to numerous unsettling incidents and urban legends. Robert Murch highlights the board's historical context, noting how the 19th century society had a different relationship with death, often incorporating it into their daily lives. Stories about the Ouija board frequently made headlines, with reports of its involvement in murder investigations and psychological disturbances. Notable cases include the possession of Roland Doe and even political figures like Romano Prodi, claiming supernatural experiences tied to the board. Alleged hauntings and supernatural phenomena associated with the board include historical figures using it in their quest for spiritual contact, and musicians like the Mars Volta attributing eerie experiences to their interactions with the board during creative processes. These incidents contribute to the board's notorious reputation as a gateway to the unknown, blurring the lines between entertainment and the supernatural. So I'm going to go through a few stories. Roland Doe became the center of a harrowing case of alleged demonic possession in the late 1940s. After experimenting with a Ouija board, he began experiencing strange phenomena, including unexplained noises, objects moving, and violent outbursts. His family sought help from various sources, eventually turning to the Catholic Church. A series of exorcisms were conducted by priests, which gained widespread media attention, later inspired William Peter Blatty's novel, The Exorcist. The case remains one of the most famous in paranormal history. Dick Brooks. At the Houdini Museum in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Dick Brooks incorporates a Ouija board into his paranormal presentations blending entertainment with ghostly lore and inviting audiences to explore the mysteries of the afterlife. The Mars Volta crafted their album Bedlam in Goliath in 2008, inspired by a Ouija board that Omar Rodriguez Lopez bought in Jerusalem. Initially, the board offered intriguing story ideas that shaped the album's themes. However, a series of bizarre and unsettling events soon followed, including a studio flood. One of the album's main engineers had a nervous breakdown, equipment began to malfunction, and Cedric Belixer Zavala's foot was injured. Disturbed by the occurrences, the band ultimately decided to bury the Ouija board, believing it had brought misfortune. When I saw this, I got so excited because I bought tickets to see Deftones and Mars Volta is opening for them. So I was like, what? This is crazy. I didn't know that they were a part of like a Ouija board crazy story, but it's kind of wild to me. It's kind of weird stuff that happened. Like, okay, studio flood, that really sucks, but I don't know. Floods happen. Nervous breakdown, equipment malfunctioning. I feel like that happens. One of the band members' foot was injured. I don't know. It's all these weird little things, but I guess the fact that they happened all together in like a similar time period, and it was after they got the Ouija board and were using it to create their album, they just all thought that the board brought them all this misfortune. So it was a cool story, I thought. Joshua Tucker was accused of murdering his mother and stepfather in 2008. During his trial, his defense claimed that he was possessed by the devil while using a Ouija board, which stirred significant controversy and discussions about the implications using such boards. The claim highlighted the cultural associations between Ouija boards and the supernatural, raising questions about the responsibility and mental state in criminal cases. Tucker was ultimately convicted of the murders. Yeah, I'm pretty sure a Ouija board possession is not a good defense, especially in 2008. Not a good choice. In 1994, Stephen Young was on trial for murdering his girlfriend, 27-year-old Marie O'Brien, in London in 1992. He was later granted a retrial after it emerged that several jurors had participated in a Ouija board seance during the trial. They claimed to have contacted the victim's spirit, who supposedly identified Young as the murderer. This revelation raised serious concerns about the integrity of the jury's decision-making process. Despite the retrial, Young was convicted again and sentenced to life in prison. The case highlighted the controversial intersection of superstition and the legal system. So weird. Why, like, jurors can't even talk to each other about the case. Why are they creating a seance to figure out what happened? Like, that just, it doesn't work. What are you doing, London? During World War I, British soldiers E.H. Jones and C.W. Hill found themselves imprisoned by Turkish forces. To escape, they devised a clever ruse involving a Ouija board, which they used to convince their captors that they were capable mediums. This deception allowed them to play into their captors' belief in mysticism, ultimately aiding their escape. I thought that was sick and also so clever. The question that many ask is, how do Ouija boards actually work? The answer, according to scientists, is not through spirits or demons, but rather through our own subconscious movements. This phenomenon is best understood through the idiometer effect, a principle that has intrigued psychologists for over 160 years. In 1852, physician and psychologist William Benjamin Carpenter published a report for the Royal Institute of Great Britain, which explored automatic muscular movements that occur without conscious volition. These movements can manifest in various ways, much like how we cry during a touching film without intending to. Carpenter's observations laid the groundwork for understanding how seemingly involuntary actions can influence our experiences. Shortly after Carpenter's work, chemist and physicist Michael Faraday conducted experiments on the popular practice of table turning, a precursor to Ouija board usage. Faraday concluded that the movements of the table were not the result of spiritual forces, but rather the unconscious idiometer actions of the participants. His findings, while convincing to many, did little to sway the beliefs of spiritualists who sought to interpret these phenomena through the spiritual lens. Dr. Chris French, a professor of psychology at Goldsmiths University of London, explains that the idiometer effect can create a powerful illusion that an external agency is at play. This misperception occurs because these small unconscious movements can produce significant results on the Ouija board. Other similar devices, such as dowsing rods or pendulums, operate on the same principle. The design of planchettes, often lightweight and constructed with smooth surfaces, facilitates this effect. Traditionally made of wood with small casters, contemporary versions are typically plastic with felt feet, enhancing their ability to glide effortlessly across the board. The ease of movement allows minor involuntary shifts of the participant's fingers to result in noticeable motion, further deepening the sense of otherworldly influence. So it's like tiny, minute muscle movements that you wouldn't even realize that you're making that move these items and whatnot, move the planchette, move the dowsing rods and whatnot. And it's all subconscious. You don't even know that you're doing it, so you almost trick yourself into believing that it's moving. In summary, while Ouija boards may evoke the idea of connecting with the spiritual, their workings can be attributed to psychological phenomena rooted in our own subconscious actions. Understanding the idiometer effect sheds light on why many believe they are experiencing something beyond themselves when they engage with these boards. Quote, "And with Ouija boards, you've got the whole social context," notes Chris French, emphasizing how group dynamics can influence the experience. In a Ouija session, participants often relinquish conscious control, creating a shared belief that the movements of the planchette come from an external source rather than individual input. This context, combined with the expectation that the board is mystical, fosters a readiness to experience what they believe to be otherworldly phenomena. Researchers at the University of British Columbia's Visual Cognition Lab have explored how the Ouija board can illuminate cognitive processes. In their investigation, Dr. Ron Rensink and his team sought to examine how the mind processes information across different levels. They classified thought into two main categories: conscious, referring to thoughts that we are actively aware of, and non conscious, which includes automatic responses akin to the instinctive reactions we have without deliberate thought. The exploration began after a Halloween party where Dr. Sidney Fells entertained students unfamiliar with the board. Intrigued by their reactions, the team designed experiments to investigate how Ouija boards could reveal non conscious knowledge. Initially, they utilized a Ouija board playing robot, which participants believed was mimicking their movements, allowing researchers to analyze responses to factual yes or no questions. They discovered a surprising result. When participants used the board, they answered correctly approximately 65% of the time, compared to just 50% when asked to answer verbally. Despite the robot's limitations, the team continued their research using human associates. Participants were blindfolded, leading them to believe they were sharing the experience with another person. This setup allowed the researchers to observe how participants performed on the board, again, demonstrating that they answered more accurately when they felt that they were not in control of the responses. Their findings, published in the February 2012 issue of Consciousness and Cognition, suggested that the non conscious mind might hold more knowledge than individuals consciously realize. The experiments indicated that the Ouija board could be a tool for investigating cognitive processes, revealing insights into how information is accessed and learned. The implications of this research extend beyond mere curiosity, potentially offering insights into how the non-conscious mind interacts with conscious thought. When I set out to explore the history of Ouija boards, I did not think that I was going to be finding psychology experiments. But honestly, this is so fascinating to me. And shout out to you, Mom. I feel like you would love this. So yeah, it's so weird to think that our subconscious is a lot smarter than our conscious mind. And that just goes to show you that maybe we should believe in ourselves a little bit more, because based on this study, we might hold more knowledge than we actually consciously realize. The UB team aims to explore questions regarding the capacity and functionality of the non-conscious mind, including its learning mechanisms and memory processes. They also consider how neurodegenerative diseases might impact these cognitive systems, potentially allowing earlier detection of conditions like Alzheimer's through changes in Ouija manipulation. Isn't that wild? I can just see it, testing for Alzheimer's, Ouija board session. I don't know. It's weird. But it's just that subconscious thought, that you have to tap into and find information from when testing for this sort of stuff. So fascinating. While funding remains a challenge, the researchers continue to refine their methodologies and seek financial support, even considering crowdfunding as an option. Despite the skepticism around the Ouija board, their work has revealed its potential as a bridge between known and unknown cognitive processes, though not in the mystical manner that many had hoped. I've had a number of family members fall victim to whether it be Alzheimer's or dementia, that sort of thing. This is just so interesting, and I think I'll dive in a little bit deeper in post and see if I can't find a little bit of information about these researchers and link it in the show notes and the description. I think it would be a really cool thing to support. It's a little bit off the wall using a Ouija board, but again, it's just that bridge between the cognitive thought and non-cognitive thought. So yeah, check the description, and I'll probably make like a social post about this too, if you'd like to support. The history of Ouija boards spans centuries, reflecting cultural fascinations with the supernatural and spiritualism. Scientific investigations reveal that the idiometer effect explains the board's movements, while studies have explored cognitive processes involved in its use. Despite claims of paranormal communication, skeptical critics emphasize the psychological mechanisms at play. The enduring allure of Ouija boards lies in their complex interplay between belief and skepticism. They serve as a captivating intersection of human curiosity, cultural expression, and the psychological mysteries of the mind, inviting both fascination and critical examination. So that is the history of Ouija boards. What do you guys think? Do you believe in the supernatural? Are you a skeptic? Are you somewhere in the middle and can't decide maybe? Let me know what you think, what your beliefs are, maybe a few experiences that you've had with a Ouija board, and just your perspective on all of this. I'd love to hear what you think. I'm so curious, so let me know down in the comments. Also, if you've made it this far along, leave me this emoji in the comments. And don't forget to give this video a like and also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please leave a review for the podcast. It would really help. Thank you again for all of your support. It really does mean the world. I'm Rachel, and until next time, stay weird and stay wicked. Bye.